Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagined.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
What happens when religious trauma collides with sexual empowerment? That is exactly what we're unpacking today with a therapist and author, Ann Russo. And we are so excited to dive into this really important conversation. Ann is going to enlighten us on so many levels, on so many things. So we're thrilled to have her. I'm Dr. Willow Brown. I'm here with the one and only Leah Piper, and we are the Sex Reimagined podcast. Thank you so much for all your amazing likes, shares, and subscribes. Keep them coming. Give us comments. It helps our algorithm get it out to more people. And we love that.
Yeah. Okay, you guys. So tune in. Oh, baby, get turned on and fall in love with Ann Russo.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Hi,
Hello.
Ann. Yay. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here today and talk about religion and sexuality and all the good stuff. So, yeah, thank you. Man, it is it's so systemic. You know, even in our client, like we work with a whole range of clientele, and even clients who, you know, have been on the sexual healing path for a long time and they have a great relationship with their sexuality. It's like it still comes up, the shame and the guilt and the trauma around sexuality. I was just working with a couple yesterday, and it was sort of their first time stepping across the threshold into Tantra land where, you know, where essence and sexuality are celebrated, and like pleasure and being in your Shakti, your divine feminine essence is, you know, the point of it all. And it was just so phenomenal and beautiful to witness this woman organize her synaptic pathways from her brain to her body down to her womb, and to like bathe in the reality that her body was made for pleasure. And, you know, when we did the intake, it was all about this, like, well, I think my mind is all fucked up from religious upbringing and society and all of that. So take it away, girl. I know you got a lot to say.
Yeah, I wanted to actually say, just kind of piggyback on that. I mean, I think we just heard Willow's version of sexual empowerment, and I know that that's a real theme with your clinic and with your work. So maybe define sexual empowerment for us.
Oh, great question. Yes. So sexual empowerment, and I admit that I do work more with women, but all around, I would say sexual empowerment is the ability to define what works for you sexually, and not because it's pushed on you by society. And I mean that in or religion or family dynamics, right? It's honoring yourself and honoring your body and honoring your journey. And that can look like opening yourself up to pleasure. And it can also look at putting a boundary to what's okay with you sexually too. Because I think it works both ways, right? Like, women are kind of taught, like, no, don't be sexual. But when your partner's ready to be sexual, well, you better be ready to be sexual too. So no matter how you look at it, women are kind of in this place of ambiguity and not really being allowed to listen to themselves and their sexuality. So empowerment can mean anything from asexuality to someone who enjoys sex with a lot of different people and feels totally okay with it.
I love that. That's such a great definition because, you know, even when, you know, when we're teaching Tantra to people or we're teaching sexual empowerment, there's a lot of times people can still come in with this idea that it has to look a certain way, it has to feel a certain way, it has to sound a certain way, you know, the performance stuff that we all are conditioned with. And it makes such a huge difference to get more authentic. Like, just what is it for you? What is right for you? Like, find that sexual sovereignty in the moment. It's going to change from day to day and year to year as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. So learning how to listen to yourself and like being authentic. You know, I ran a class of female sexual empowerment, and we actually did talk a lot about the systemic issues around religion. And one of the members of the group was like, you know, I want to learn how to have more pleasure. And I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. Because, you know, the class really focused on more about putting up boundaries from unwanted sexual advances. Right. And when she brought that in, I was like, you're so right. Like, we need to talk about what it means for us to allow ourselves to truly be pleasured sexually without any guilt or shame wrapped into that.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to be able to think about our pleasure and consider our desires and have a place to parse those out and the courage and the bravery to say them out loud.
Yes.
Even I don't even know where to start, because I think it's been so not normalized to female sexuality that it's like we hand it over to other people to figure out for us, instead of considering, well, what would the journey look like if I figured this out for myself?
Yes.
And how do I know I'm on the right track?
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think the conversation about it, we just had another guest on our podcast who was saying, you know, the people who have the best sort of sexual relationships ongoing are the ones who can talk about it, you know, and Leah's always talking about, like, you know, even if you've got a fantasy or some kind of, like, you know, sexual desire, you could talk about it. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to play it out and do it. But having a more open conversation around sexuality, it just opens a pathway for possibility. And it's exciting too. I mean, sometimes you can talk about some super dirty shit and not actually do it. And it's a turn on.
Yeah. Exactly. It's owning yourself, it's owning your pleasure, owning your boundaries and your consent, like your authentic consent into those experiences. So
how did you get, like, kind of you know, on this path of healing the shame and the systemic stuff from religion? Were you raised in the Catholic, like we were both raised in religion as well, and so we've got our own stories around it.
Oh,
what's yours?
Yeah. I was born again Christian and then went to Catholicism, so I had a lot of interesting messages between both.
Yeah, so I have a very opposite story. So it's like, how did I get here is a great question. I was raised in a household that was very polyamorous, actually.
Okay.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So sex and sexuality was taught to me as very healthy in a very young age. But I was raised by gay men, and then my mom, and, you know, my father and his partner were just very open, and I saw sexuality and understood sexuality through the eyes of men, not really through the eyes of women.
And gay men at that.
And gay men, yes.
Interesting upbringing. Very different.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So for me, I thought, well, this is what sexuality is supposed to look like. But it didn't really work for me or make sense for me. So I had a long journey into figuring out more about what my boundaries were and what pleasure meant for me and safety meant for me. And I had to do a lot of that work on my own, right? And to see that it was not what the world was telling me it was, and that more conservative, you know, we are a Christian nation, whether we say it out loud or not. That's super
whether
true.
we agree with it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So what that was teaching me about sexuality, and then what my household, and neither of those made any sense to me. So I had to kind of come into my own.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really studied sexuality and through all those life experiences, and then watching what was going on with, my friends and my peers, and then finally my clients.
I'm curious. This is a personal question, so you don't have to answer it. But growing up in a polyamory household, are you attracted to more of the non-monogamy philosophy, or are you in fact more attracted to monogamy? Where do you stand in your personal life?
So that's a great question because it has changed throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm attracted more to non-monogamy in the more of an emotional context than a sexual context.
Mm-hmm.
But my partner and I are monogamous. I hope that she doesn't mind me saying this. Sorry if you do. But we're pretty open. So we talk in depth about every possibility that could ever be. And so it's like we have these conversations regularly, and at this time in our life, we are monogamous, and I don't know if that will always exist that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we do talk about these things, and we're very open about these things. So I think that helps us because we can have a conversation like all the way through. What are the consequences? What are the positives? What if this? What if that? How do you feel about this? And I think that helps us always be very authentic and what we need at different points in our life.
I'm sure it brings a lot of closeness too, because when you can talk at a depth about these inner workings of love and exploration, you're being transparent with someone who you really care about and respect. And that conversation, I think, exemplifies that. I'm really curious because, Willa, we haven't really touched in on you lately.
We have. Come on, I was in tears the other day on the podcast.
Wait. No, this is a different question. This is a different question for you. Because in the beginning of the show, a few years ago, you were definitely exploring non-monogamy and had a lot of passion about kind of open relationship. And then it felt like you did a couple of turns. Mm-hmm. And I know like right now you're dating and exploring, but I've kind of heard whisperings in our conversations that like monogamy might be in your future. So I just want to like take the temperature right now with you. If you don't mind.
Temp
and
check.
Of course you can say, Leah, cut that shit out.
Temp check. No, I don't mind sharing. I love to be open and vulnerable. So, I think that I have always sort of, the relationship that I want is the one that works, basically. But I have always sort of held a more, it was stood more in the monogamish category, which is like, this is my partner and we're together and we can lean into each other and we're solid and we like to play with others, together, or in some kind of container that feels safe for both of us that's agreed upon in advance. So I think that's my answer to that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was really into open relationships early on, but I realized a lot later that I think that was in reaction to my parents' divorce and my dad cheating. So it was this, I don't ever want to be in that position. I would rather be in a relationship where there was transparency and honesty at all costs. And everyone can have their desire and we will negotiate how to allow everyone to have their pleasure. Like I'm more, don't lie to me reaction than anything else. And then I found myself in a series of open relationships. And then, the last one I had was pretty brutal. And then I was like swung the other direction.
Like, I'm going to go into a convent,
that
actually,
was 8 years of hell. Like,
Totally.
I don't ever want to feel jealousy again. So anyways, just to kind of give you I looked like you were about ready to say something, so I want to kind of turn back to you.
I love what you both are sharing, because I think that that's any relationship we should be able to navigate as honestly and as authentically as we can. And I don't see anything wrong with any of these versions of relationships if everyone involved, that's really what's working for them, right? But I think the challenge is that we're given this handbook here, this is monogamy. Now you do this, and this is what this looks like as you're doing it, and then no one talks about it, right? So like I know many people, whether professionally or personally, they don't have these types of conversations around feelings and actions and how do we actually have a relationship together. So I feel like with the exploration of non-monogamy pushes you to dig deeper into yourself and should push the people you're with to dig deeper into themselves. Like you were saying, Leah, it's very different than like a reaction to something negative happening versus like, you know what, this may work for me and I want to understand what that means, right? And you're doing it with someone or people who are approaching it in the same way. Because there's many times where I work with people and I'm like, that doesn't sound like non-monogamy. That sounds like someone being super, super selfish and not respecting you. Right. So it's like, so really like it comes down to highly respecting some others, respecting yourself, having insight into yourself, working on any triggers that you may have and being able to talk through those things in very vulnerable ways. It's not being selfish and doing whatever the hell you want to do without considering other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do a lot of your clients kind of navigating non-monogamy?
Yeah. I was going to ask the same question. Like, how many people are entering your office that are really exploring a new kind of relationship from what generations before adopted?
Many.
Pretty much all of them.
I also advertise that way.
Sure.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But many, and most do come in feeling like something's A, wrong with them that they want this, or, you know, B, how the heck do I actually do this and have it work, right?
So that must be like a starting place that you have to work people through, is like that it's even okay to want what they want, and that it is possible to have it, you know.
Yeah, you know, I think in many ways non-monogamy for some can be like an orientation. I think there's some folks,
say more,
yeah, because I think, you know, it's like some folks are like, you know, this seems interesting to me. I want to explore it. I want to see if this is something for me. You can maybe you can take it or leave it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some folks, you know, and I had a client that I was speaking to about this recently. They're shoving this part of themselves down to try to make monogamy work.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like making this person physically and mentally unwell to try to push this down. And so I think some people are truly oriented to a form of non-monogamy.
Right. Yeah. I think so too.
I think
it's like it's inside of them. It's a part of like their essence and how they cultivate connection and closeness. And it's not this like pair bonded, you know, path. It's broader than that. And you know, it's such a complex, in so many ways, it's such a complex piece, right? Because we love who we love.
Yep.
And we don't want our partner, if we love and respect them, to suffer.
Totally.
And so we want them to live in their truth. And at the same time, if their truth threatens the shit out of us, and now we're tying ourselves up in a pretzel on one hand or the other, on either side of the sidewalk, then we are moving towards suffering.
Yes.
And you know, so how do you know? Because I've been telling everyone, I've been listening to a lot of Esther Perel, her podcast lately, and it's been really interesting when she's working with couples in this particular dynamic, or she's just working with one person, right? And they're exploring something, and when attachment style arises, and you have someone who has a more avoidant attachment style. And it's like they find themselves sort of on the hunt because it fills them with all that energy and that excitement. And then as soon as they catch the person and they start receiving love back, it's like they push it away. And then they're on to the next chase, even if they stay in that relationship or they end up cheating. And so how much, I guess I'm curious, and you may or may not be able to answer this, but how much are you seeing that avoidant attachment style being placed in sort of the open relationship desire, where they're just sort of avoiding whatever block they have to closeness? And it may not even be about polyamory as much as it's about, childhood shit.
Yes. So I do think that it is about childhood shit, but I also think that it shows up in some non-monogamy spaces because that's the way the person is choosing to deal with it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. Because I think that person is being said, you're the selfish one. You're the one that's dysfunctional. You're the one that is, blah, 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 name your judgments.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it just adds another complexity to all of this.
Yeah, I think that, when I ran the group and, I had a member say something to me and I was like, yes, this is it right here. And I guess if anything, this is what I would want to get across. Exploring non-monogamy is the hardest work you'll ever do for yourself on your mental and emotional well-being, your childhood, your attachment style. Like, you can't do it in a healthy way without tackling all the bullshit.
Okay.
Right.
That resonates.
Yeah, truly, right? So
you got to dig deep and you got to pull up the roots on the consciousness that you were imparted as a child.
You're going to face that childhood culture that you grew up in, the religious construct, your family, your caregivers, But what's also, I think, kind of unique is it can change from partner to partner. In our connection from partner to partner, because I have felt very unsafe with some partners and then incredibly secure with other partners where I feel like, oh, we could actually do this well now.
So, okay, I have a question for you on that, Leah. Did you find, though, that where you felt unsafe versus safe, the amount of work that person had already done on themselves?
Let's take a quick break.
Ladies, do you want to explore your sexuality and experience true sexual healing?
The Vaginal Orgasms Masterclass teaches you and your partners how to unlock your full sexual potential and awaken the G-spot, the sacred spot, and the cervix for an unforgettable sexual experience. Would learning how to finally surrender and release grief, fear, and uncertainty benefit your outlook on life, love, and relationships? We certainly think so. Common misconceptions of the G-spot, including its anatomy and function as an erogenous zone, will be covered in this course.
Plus, we're going to teach you 7 different massage strokes for the G-spot that dissolve blocked energy and increase your pleasure tenfold.
We're going to teach you how to locate the sacred spot and the best methods to stimulate it for maximum pleasure.
And you're going to learn about cervical orgasm techniques, which are the most powerful and also often elusive style of climaxing. This class is primarily geared toward women, but men have taken it as well and learned so much about how to pleasure their partners.
So get ready for multiple O's, my friends. And you can get all of that at sexreimagine.com/female-masterclass. And for being a listener of the show, we've got a beautiful coupon code for you. It is 20% off this course. Just type in podcast20, that's all caps, podcast20, and get yourself a great deal on this on-demand course. That's a hard one to answer because there's not proof that they did a ton of work, but what is there as proof is a ton of curiosity and a deep-seated desire to also be like met and want this. We are in agreement and our values line up probably in a way that those other relationships weren't as much of a match. And there's a flexibility in him that I think other relationships did not have as much flexibility.
And I would even question then that some work had to be done, because how many times do you sit with clients or people and you're like, well, what do you value? And they don't know.
Right. All the time. People don't know their deepest core values ever.
Totally.
Yeah, which is like part of their essence. It's part of who they are at their most authentic, true self.
I mean, your husband, Matt, obviously has done a lot of work on himself. He kind of some people come in just like having a more of a connection to their essence and their truth and their authentic self.
I have to say he was working with a fabulous therapist when we met. He is an avid reader, like no one you've ever met. And we started therapy right away. So as we were in the ooh-la-las and falling in love, we had a foundation of support and therapy so that there was a translator when we got stuck in communication. And I think that really set us up to be at this stage in our relationship. And to be very transparent, we are monogamous, but there's
you guys
my
are
work is hands-on with people. Like I touch people's bodies. There are things that are off the table,
right?
And what I do with people somatically and sexually, but it's outside of your traditional monogamous structure that I certainly grew up in.
Yeah. I would call it monogamish for sure. What you guys are.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. So okay. Anything else on this topic before I change gears?
Oh, I just want to say that I love this, and I just love how open that you both are, because it's sharing just how this can look in so many various ways, because you're just coming in as yourselves, and your partner or partners is doing the same thing. So it's not like do it like this. It's just like you said, aligning are you aligned with that person and how you do that. So that's so cool.
Right.
Yeah, and I love too that the work around polyamory, swingers, non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy, monogamish.
Yes, totally.
All of these terms, like I think what's really cool about the therapeutic world and how many therapists are now available to work within this structure is so beautiful and so awesome. I love to see that growth in our culture, and that it's really about not putting people in boxes, but helping them figure out the right formula for all of this. Because there's some people that are like, do whatever you want, but cover it up in terms of a condom and don't tell me. Like that's valid too. You don't have to be full transparency the way I think we always thought polyamory was. It was, full transparency. Everyone's in communication. Everyone knows everyone. That's just one model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's knowing yourself, and then
getting clarity about yourself, and then maybe experimenting to kind of keep finding clarity.
Yes. Okay.
So now I'm curious about religious recovery. Because so many of us, me in particular, that I've certainly talked about this on the show, felt like I had a lot of religious recovery to go through to find myself and to kind of strip away what I was raised to believe about being a woman, which was different. The rules were different than the rules my brother had. Sure. And all of that. And I'm also curious about like different religions, not just Christianity, but people who might be recovering from really strict Judaism or Islam or Mormonism or, growing up as in the Amish faith. So can you enlighten us a little bit about what you're seeing?
Sure. So what my focus is on is what I call high control faith systems or religious systems. And that's not a term coined by me, so I just want to put it out there. It was by Marlene Winnell. And we're not talking specifically about a religion. Like, we're not going to say, okay, Christianity, okay, Judaism, right? We're speaking specifically maybe even just about like a church or a sect of that particular faith. And how that sect is more controlling over who you are. Very for like a term, like if you look at like a very evangelical belief system as a Christian, right? Like this is the word of God. You cannot question the word of God. The pastor is the one who explains to you what the word of God means. You go to hell if you don't believe this, or you're punished if you don't believe this, right? And there's a very strict way to comply always within that group.
Very defined roles as well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I'm looking at if you try to leave, you can, be shunned even by your own family members, right? Like it just creates a situation where there's no real self, there's no autonomy, their self-worth. Everything is just tied into this system.
Right. And just like you kind of alluded to, there's tremendous risk in going against the grain, like major cost. From a survival instinct of the need to belong as human creatures, right?
Absolutely. And it takes, we're going up to that level of like, now we're talking about your soul too.
Right.
So it's like, so it's like,
existential crisis.
You may leave. Exactly. Right. In that fear of the divine. I mean, that's really rough. Yeah. And you will see that in any faith. You can see it in Buddhism. Yeah. In Hinduism, faiths that we may not necessarily even think about.
They have a lot of like structure. Like you got to do this that many times and that this many times. Yeah.
Yes, right.
I like that high that terminology, high control. That makes a lot of sense. And even like if it doesn't have a spiritual component, there's a lot of, what's the word when somebody's in a cult? There's a lot of cults these days that are, just have so much
high control.
High control. Exactly. And so what makes the work that I'm doing a little bit different, one is I'm putting no judgment on a religion. And I think that's really important because so many people have religion, have faith.
Right.
Clinicians do. I mean, like, we can't just be like, well, this is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And that non-judgmental space, I think, is really important for building trust between you and a client.
Totally. And then to take it a step further, that this is something that hasn't really been done in the therapeutic world yet, is what do you do for people that want to remain within their faith?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Because right now, and as you mentioned, Dr. Willow, is we usually work with folks who've left cults. Like, you can't be like, well, you're still in a cult and we're going to help you. You just need to realize. Yeah. You can't. You just can't. They have to be gone, right? And so with this, it's like, okay, so people may show up in therapy who very much are happy in even the high control system.
Right.
But they're struggling with maybe obsessive compulsive praying. So it's like you can still work with them around the obsessive compulsive praying without them having to leave the faith.
Yeah. I like that. I like that kind of come as you are approach. And yes. I was reading your bio and like the people that you work with, like you are really serving a very specific population, which I think is just so valuable. So tell us a little bit about what is this, what am I reading about in your bio, AMR or something?
Oh, okay. So that's the practice that I started, and that works with all folks that are part of marginalized communities. So there's like 15 therapists there.
Oh, cool.
And they all, we work with queer folks, non-monogamy, BIPOC folks, folks that don't really feel like they're being served.
Right.
So
that's such a huge service. It must be like I'm envisioning your office space like a mecca for people who are like, I finally feel seen. Hallelujah. I'm coming every day. I mean,
yeah, I know it. And I love that because the therapist, like, we have a very strong mission there, and we're also sliding scale because, unfortunately,
not everyone can afford therapy.
Totally.
Exactly.
Right.
Totally.
Exactly.
What do you love about serving marginalized folks who, really need this? I mean, what's the candy for you in that?
I think that's just always been in my blood. I mean, because, being raised in a queer household when you're young in the 80s, the impact is pretty high, the negative impact.
I would imagine.
Sure, in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think it's different from then to today?
I think it is better because it's talked about more. You see more families, it's just more. It is definitely more open. I mean, I have some concerns, of course, here or there, but you can talk about it. Like before, you couldn't even really. We were not allowed to talk about it. Like me and my sister, we couldn't even say. Like we had to act like we were a heteronormative family because my parents, my dad, his partner, my mom, they were all scared. So we all lived in the same house.
So there was like this living in secrecy and living in
like could you say
hiding.
You had two dads?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
I can now. Back then it was
you couldn't.
mom and dad and a roommate.
Gotcha.
Wow, how painful.
Okay.
It was really hard.
Oh,
and
it hurts my little heart to hear that.
So it was like, we just had to live this lie because of fear.
Wow.
And when I finally was able to say something, I shook like a leaf. I was crying. I was freaking out. Like it was very hard for me to learn how to share my feelings because I was kind of taught to just silence and stoic face. Yeah.
So that must have been a huge healing for you. Like, when did that healing begin? At what time in your life were you out of the house? What age and how long was it?
High school. It was actually high school because we moved to another area. We moved to Long Beach, California.
Was a little bit more open.
Mid-90s. Yeah. And I was struggling with my own sexuality because I didn't want to be a queer person because of what I saw with my dad.
Right.
I wanted anything but that. People, I'll get the question a lot like, oh, it must have been so much easier for you. And it's like, no. It wasn't. I was scared to death to be a queer person.
And when did you kind of like, at what point were you able to own that and come to?
I did in high school, believe it or not, because I started meeting people that were like, oh, yeah, I have a girlfriend. I have girlfriends. I was stunned. I'll never forget how shocked I was.
Wow.
They're like, my people.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, what is happening here, right?
That's so cool.
And then I started the gay straight, club in high school. We were the first high school to ever march in the Pride Parade in Long Beach.
Oh, cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it just was like in my blood. And it always had been. And I always thought that my work would be around queerness. And then I started to understand the impact of religion on queer people. And then that's when I went to school and I got degrees in theology. And
what made you get a degree in theology?
What
are you
is theology? Can you define theology?
Yes. So it's the study of God. And my focus was queer liberation and understanding like the times of Jesus. Like I studied other faiths, but that was really my heavy focus. And it was because of my own experience when I joined a church. I could go on. I had so many weird experiences.
Yeah. I love weird experiences.
I joined a church. I joined an evangelical church when I was 18 because I was like, why do these people hate us? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I just jumped in and, I fell very hard for an evangelical girl and, and it was
like?
It was torturous. Honestly, it was torturous. But it's really what propelled the work that I do now around religion and the religious trauma. At first, I was like, I'm going to focus on queerness, but then I saw how religion has impacted so many people, not just queer people, and the pain and the hurt, and people feeling like they can't have spirituality or it has to look like it's just been a tremendous learning experience. So I'm like, I need to expand this to more people.
From a political standpoint, I imagine you're also seeing a lot of people, especially since this recent administration. I know my sister and her wife, and she's from Canada, have been, it's like their anxiety levels have skyrocketed.
Wow.
To the point where my sister cannot watch any like news. She has turned off so many things because she was really starting to get sick. This fear of deportation, this fear of gay marriage, going away, all these things. They've got a new baby. Will their families be separated? It's been really, I think, rocked the queer community in a really significant way that I don't know is really talked a lot about on the news. So I'm sure you're seeing a lot of that fear walk into your office. And how are you helping people with that?
Oh my gosh, not just walking into my office, but in my life.
Sure.
Everywhere.
Too.
Right.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's right close to home, right inside your home, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, my partner and I actually just recently drove across the country. We were moving back to California because we wanted to be in a place where we felt more safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never, I mean, it's like, you know, there's certain places in the country where it's like, well, this is really not my people. But I actually had fear. Like, I hadn't experienced that before. You know, I was like, I can't be here. Like, panic was like setting in certain places.
Where were you?
A few places in Texas. And then driving through Appalachia.
Mm.
And I'd been through there before, but it was really different this time because, you know, something that, and I'm sure that you can relate to this in different ways, is there's certain things that as a minority you scan for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you scan for if someone has, it's terrible to say, but it's really true. Someone has an American flag. It's like, oh shit. If someone has some kind of religious symbol, you know, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
you know,
certain
it's like
bumper
it's like
stickers.
yeah. So it's like you're literally like so hyper vigilant in your environments because you're always scanning for safety.
Yeah, lawn signs, signs that are in gas stations. I mean, there's all sorts of little things that you don't think about, but are portraying this is what we believe.
Yes.
And so you have the instinct of going, then you might be against me.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so it's anything. Like you said, you go into a gas station, you're seeing like the merchandise that they're selling. What does it say? God, guns, country. You're like, oh my goodness. Like these people may be the most wonderful humans ever, but the trigger is real. The hypervigilance is real.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
and you're left in mystery because you don't know if they're the type of people who are going to invite you to dinner or if they're the type of people who are going to get their shotgun out.
Exactly. And that's a really, really difficult way to move in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, I mean, obviously, I'm very lucky to be in a place where I don't feel that as much here.
Yeah.
But for clients, you know, and even my clients' friends are in certain areas in the country, I mean, they're scared to death.
Yeah.
They're scared to death.
Right.
Because your body can't stay in the state of hypervigilance all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So hard on the adrenals and just drains you constantly. You can't sleep. You're like always, you know, on guard and then you're always in pattern. I mean, we talk about on our show a lot, like the places that we don't feel safe in our lives a lot of times is sexuality, finances, you know, and now like this is a huge, huge piece of the conversation of not feeling safe. And when you're not feeling safe, you're usually in some kind of protective strategy or pattern, which means you can't just be in presence. So it's like automatically taking you out of a tantric state, you know, it's taking you out of presence. It's taking you out of being in a relationship with whoever is right in front of you. Like the guy at the, you know, at the checkout counter. Can I just be human to human with this soul, you know? And and there's you're coming in already guarded and already holding. It's challenging.
It really is. It really is. And
I can only relate to it really like as a woman, you know, like even this morning, I'm in Montecito where it's just like, okay, it's fucking Disneyland around here and everyone's super wealthy, you know, and I'm walking down the beach. Yeah.
I know. It's like Disneyland.
Yeah, talk about privilege.
Totally privileged. And I'm walking down the beach and I see these like 3 older dudes and they're just having their coffee and shooting the shit or whatever. But even there's something inside of me that a guard goes up, you know, like, am I safe? Am I okay?
Yes.
3 men, you know.
It's
it's intense. So I can only imagine the intensity that so many are going through around the country right now.
And, you know, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, you know, and I think about people of color, or I think about trans people of color.
Or immigrants.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's another big reason why we moved back here is because so many of our friends are immigrants or they're brown folks, and we're like, do we have to be here to run errands or do things for them or to support them? Because like, while yes, I feel all the ways that I feel right now, I don't have a fear that I'm gonna just get picked up walking down the street, right? So I saw something recently where this woman was just pulled right out of her car and thrown to the ground.
Fuck.
And I have to tell you, the impact that it had on me was it was so intense. And I went to go eat at a restaurant, and it was, Spanish speaking, it was a Mexican restaurant. I'm looking around, and I was afraid that ICE was just going to come up in there and try to take people.
Wow.
Things that I never would have.
You never thought was going to happen
but
in the U.S. Yeah.
No, and I think, how are these people? I know they have to survive, but oh my God, I can't even imagine what their systems are doing as they're here day in and day out. And ICE literally was just down the street and had wiped out the entire car wash, and like, it's just, you're destroying generations of people through
You
trauma.
can't help but think, what if that was my dad?
Yeah,
what if that was my little sister?
How is that impacting, the kids who are like their nervous systems, which are like little sponges,
Which leads me to this question, bringing it back to sexuality, because when we're dealing with those kinds of stresses in our environment, in our hearts, in our bodies, in our minds, how is that affecting sex?
How can you even have sex?
Yeah, you're so much.
How can right? Like, how can you even be safe enough in your body to be vulnerable and safe and ready for pleasure? Like, your system just won't even allow it.
Right. Yeah. You might just want to bang one out to get some cortisol out of your system and some oxytocin in, but that's about it.
Look, you might feel a little better. We might not have all the answers now, but if you want to feel a little better, let's shoot for an orgasm.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Yeah.
An antidote.
Oh
yeah. Quick antidote. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah, I mean, it's
an orgasm a day keeps the anxiety away.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. But yeah, it's not going to be loving, vulnerable sex.
No, not the deep, connective.
Right. It might be survival sex.
Yeah. That primal, right? Yeah, the primal sex.
Right. Well, this has been such a fun conversation.
I know. What a pleasure. What a treat. We love you, Ann.
Yeah.
Tell
us about your book.
Yeah, tell us about your book.
Yes. So it's it's going to be out in 2026, and it's being published by Pessy.
Pessy. P-E-S-S-Y. I'm looking for a book.
P-E-S-P-E-S-I. And they publish books for mental health clinicians. They do a lot of trainings for mental health clinicians. So they're top-notch folks. So I'm really excited to be published by them.
Awesome.
And the book is about the religious trauma treatment model, and it's really to teach therapists how to work with people that have religious trauma who may want to stay in their faith or leave. Like, meet them where they're at and like honor that experience.
Yeah. Great.
And so, and it's also, just for folks that maybe are interested in learning more about religious trauma and the impact of it.
Yeah. Great. Well, best of luck with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Where else can people find you? Website?
They can find me at annrusso.org.
Okay.
And I love people to connect with me. It's my favorite. So please reach out.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for being our sexpert today.
Thank you so much. I had such a lovely time talking to you both.
Great. Awesome. Okay, my friends, my lovers, our beloveds out there listening out in time and space. The show's not over. We still have the dish coming up, so stay tuned.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
What a treat. What a pleasure. I love that woman.
Fun territory and landscape to dive into.
We really haven't had that many queer experts.
Yeah.
We need to get more on here, I think.
Would love that. Yeah. So if you are a sexpert out there and you specialize in alternative lifestyles, especially in the queer community. We'd love to get your take on life and love and relationship and sex and all the things. So we all have a greater understanding of what our neighbors and family are living.
Absolutely. Yeah. What I loved about Anne was her very clear empathic like nature, like, did you notice how many times she'd be like, oh, yeah, she's just like, yeah, she really feels like you can,
she's like, right along with you.
She's so safe to be with because she's present and really feeling it with you, I think. So she's probably, I'm sure her clients just love going to work with her because that is so valuable it's one of the things that we all really want as human beings is we want to be seen. But
and gotten,
and there's just so many, like, it all feels so unsafe to, like, share ourselves. But to step into someone's office, step into a safe container, someone like Anne who's just right there with you. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah, especially when you feel isolated and your story is so different from maybe your friends or your neighbors. And so where do you confide when you already feel like you are a pariah in some instances? I think her story, I was really grateful that because not all therapists are willing to talk about their story. Totally. And I really love it when they do.
Yeah.
I just feel like it brings so much humanity and to the conversation, and to hear her story of growing up and how she had to keep this family secret. Oh my God. Yeah. And then like the assumption. I mean, even in my mind, I was kind of saying, oh, what her, outing story was. It must have been, she must have gotten approval from her family, right? But like how like her story of coming out was just as scary as many other people.
Yeah.
Despite having, a queer parents, I was really touched by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can really feel in Anne like how much deep work she's done on herself in order to be able to have a conversation like we just had with her, just really open, vulnerable, and clear and deeply felt. So
I also really loved her answer around the religious faith and where you start in therapy of that and how you support someone who's it could be anywhere along their journey, and they may not be ready to cut that part or change that part of their life in a significant way. They may not be ready to leave Mormonism. They may not be ready to go to a different church other than the church they've been going to since they were kids. Right. I was listening to another Esther Perel episode, and she was working with this lovely gay man whose dad was the leader of the Muslim church that he goes to. So his dad is like the leader, and his faith is so strong. And he talked about wanting to meet someone that he could marry and who would be 100%, monogamous and, ideally a virgin. And, it would be this man of faith, and that was so important to him. But even though his dad knew that he was gay, he's out, but there is still an expectation that just because you're out doesn't mean you're going to live the lifestyle.
Right.
Like trying to get married is going to be a whole nother hurdle. And he's the oldest son, and like the significance of like the family order and how his parents did all these things to try to kind of pray the gay away. So close to sending him to foreign countries and other institutions to try not to be gay. Oh. And then as the episode is ending, it comes to light that he was sexually abused.
Okay.
His parents knew about it, but because of the scandal, so dad, they think he's gay because of what happened from being sexually assaulted.
Okay.
Then, like, they can't out it because that would bring too much attention to them as the leaders of the church.
And
so it's not like they can persecute the persecutor that hurt their kid.
What a fucking double bind.
Oh my gosh.
Horrible.
I know. I was just like, and he's not ready to leave his faith. It's so a part of the fabric of his soul.
He is.
And who he wants to be. And then you can also just see like the attachments to not wanting to disappoint your parents.
Well, that sounds like a good Esther episode.
Yes, the conviction of going, and I'm gay. And the bravery it took to like come out, even though you're still have this sense of disapproval. So what Esther was sort of bringing it to was the double bind.
Yeah.
No wonder you're actually looking for a partner that maybe there's so many qualifications of who they have to be.
Right.
That person may not exist.
Right.
And that's why wanting that person is safe.
Right.
Because you get to stay in your family.
Right.
You get to want this thing that will probably be really hard to find.
Yeah, you're looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah,
and you might not like them when you find them. Like they might check all the boxes, but you don't have the chi with them. You don't have the chemistry.
And in order to have them, you don't get your family.
Right.
So you have to pick. So instead of not picking, you find something impossible to find.
Right,
I know, right? Like gut wrenching. Oh,
prayers to that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And to all the people out there who, who are in a compromised or marginalized position. And we just want you to know that our hearts go out to you so deeply. And, there is support. There is really good places to get to be seen and to be supported and to be helped. So don't give up on looking for what you need in order to be your full self in this lifetime.
Yeah, and please go to sexreimagined.com, click on the podcast tab. We have resources in all of our show notes, and we really encourage you to go click on those links.
Absolutely.
And you might just find more episodes that you're excited to listen to.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll catch you on the flip side. Love, love, love.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.